So we're going to be taking a peek at polynomial functions, the graphs of them, and some other information that we can get from them. Hopefully you saw the original lesson we did here. But what my goal is going to be is that the evens will be your practice, and the odds that I am going to mainly be doing with you are going to give you some good examples to work with as you're working through these. So, state if the given binomial is a factor of the given polynomial. Okay, what does that mean? Very simple question. Does the remainder, and what's the remainder again? It's going to be the last number that we see when we do synthetic division. Does the remainder equal 0? If you get to the end and your remainder is anything but 0, positive, negative, doesn't matter, then it's not a factor. If it's 0, then yes it is. So let's jump in on this first one. And we get a little bit of controversy right at the start here. So I look and I'm like, okay, is there a degree gap? 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, no degree gap. Hallelujah, that was nice. When I go to put my number in the box, you're like, Hardy, the last time you were here, we were having this discussion again. Last time you weren't flipping the sign. Now you are flipping the sign. How do I remember this again? If the division part is in parentheses, okay, x plus or minus something, p whatever variable, we switch the sign. If they just say x equals, then we use that value. So here we're going to switch the sign, and we're just going to copy all of my coefficients now. Okay, no variables. And then we start our synthetic division like we've done many a time already throughout this unit. So we bring the first term down, we take that value that's below the line, we multiply it by what's in the little box, and that goes in our next open slot. And then we just add down. And then we keep repeating that process, multiply by what's in the box, next empty slot, add down. And we keep doing this until we run out of terms to work with. And at this point, the only thing we care about, we don't need to put the variables back in, we don't need nothing else. If that number is anything but 0, it's not a factor of the given polynomial. Okay? Anything but 0, bad, is all we're basically doing. And so, we'll play at least with one more of these. I see one other one I want to do. But I'm like, okay, so 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, so no gaps. Switch my sign. Again, if you don't see a coefficient, we assume it's 1. Don't make it 0. Don't ignore it. And we just repeat that process. We pull that first value down. Multiply by what's in the box. Put that in my next open slot here and add down. So, I mean, here, the biggest thing that could get you is just something simple like, do you mix up a sign? Do you add them together and you forget, negative number's bigger, I keep it negative. Things like that. And so you're like, okay, Hardy, that's 2 for 2. Make sure my math is still good here. Make sure I'm not doing something silly. Nope, I'm not. I'm trying to remember here really quick. I really want to make sure I show you an example of... Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm just peeking right now to kind of see. Nope. Well, heck. So, but that kind of gives us a general gist of how these are going to work. Now, just for instance, because I want to make sure we do see one like this before we get to the end. When we get to number 5, Number 5 throws a little twist at us, just as a reminder. When you're doing, is there a degree gap? You're like, well, 3, 2, 1, that's fine. But when you're counting down, we want to get to 0. So here, 3, 2, 1, I don't have that constant term on the end, which is my 0. So I need to put a plus 0 on the end here. So I can get 3, 2, 1, 0, 3, 2, 1, 0, something like that. So I still change my sign, write down my coefficients, and when I get to that gap, we're going to put a 0. Now, if it would have been here within the R's, it can be anywhere along here. So just something to be aware of. And then we just roll back through this one more time. First term comes down, multiply by what's in the box, add down. Multiply by what's in the box, add down. Multiply by what's in the box. You're like, Hardy, all these keep coming up as no. Are you going to tell us later you boneheaded something? No, I am not boneheading anything. We're just getting a lot of no's on this side, which probably means we're going to get a lot of yeses on the other side as far as this goes. But that's all you're doing. Okay, synthetic division, look at the last number. 0, it's yes. Anything else but 0, it's going to be no. You're like, okay, that's not terribly awful. And that's true. So then we get to the actual graphing part. Okay, sketch the graph of the function, find the min and max along with the x-intercepts. So before I do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to get these labeled in here so I don't forget any of them as we start to check this out. So let's get this typed in again. Make sure we're accurate with what we have, because nothing's worse than doing a whole problem and then going, oh, I typed it in wrong. And even though I could just do a quick sketch, what I would prefer that you do is maybe look at the chart. Oh my goodness, what did somebody do to me here? Table start 95, no thank you. Okay, is just find some points that are actually within the -8 to 8 that are going each direction on this, and just use those so at least we're like a little bit accurate. That's kind of nice. So I'm just plotting the ones. Okay, just a minute. I was just looking for a second to make sure. That's weird. Did I just mislabel? I did. Good job, Hardy. See, it happens to even me. Because I was wondering why that point was up there. I'm like, what is going on with this? Okay. So there. Okay, I got my graph. So I need to find if there's a minimum, a maximum, and where there's any zeros or x-intercepts. So I look at this first one, and I remind myself that for there to be a minimum, there has to be some sort of a valley, some sort of a down spot. Well, here there really isn't. So for this particular problem, I don't have a minimum. That's okay. However, I do seem to have a maximum right there. So this is where we go back again, and I'm half tempted. Oh, I can't pick up the computer. It's going to be a problem for me here. I'm half tempted to want to go over, but I will repost that again. The min and max for range and sometimes for other things like this. We've got all our button presses over there. Like I said, I will try to get this posted with the video online here in a little bit. So we're going to go back to second trace. Okay. Let me pull this up to make sure it's in the screen here. Second trace. We're looking for the maximum. It's right here. And when our cursor shows up, there's a little blinky. only the left and right arrows once again. And we're just going to get as close to that max as we can. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, just be in the ballpark. And then the question will help me figure out where to go. Left bound, left arrow. We're going to do it 1, 2, 3, just to play it safe, and hit enter. You'll get your little faint line and your arrow going here saying, okay, we've cut off this part. This is my left border. Then the question changes. So now we're going to use the right arrow. 1, 2, 3, got me back where I started. 4, 5, 6. Enter. Now I've basically said, okay, it's somewhere in here, and I'm going to hit enter one last time. And my max is at, whoops, not -1, Hardy, +1. And we've talked before about this. If you ever get an X or a Y value where you see E, E just basically means 0, because that's -1.3 times 10 to the -11th power. So basically this would be 0.00000000013, which is really close to 0. So we're just kind of looking at it that way.
This is my last year's one. Do you want me to find an older one? Because these probably won't match your video.
Doesn't matter.
We'll have
I can wing it. I can wing it. Thank you so much. So again, we see E. E is going to be 0. I got my max. I'm good. So now comes the last question. You're like, well, X-intercept, it looks like it'd be at about the same place, because that's the only place that it seems to be possibly crossing. So back to second trace, still in the calculate menu. We're going to test this out. It's a pretty accurate place to be. I'm just going to try here. That's pretty close to it. So again, 1, 2, 3, enter. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, enter, enter. And I notice it's still 1, 0. So you're like, wait. So like there could be multiple things? Like it can be a max in an intercept or a min and it can. It can. Sometimes you'll get multiple, sometimes you just get one like we did here. So nothing too awful, okay? Let's play, I'm just looking here. Ooh, that one looks nastier. Yeah, let's come down here. Let's come down to 13. 13 looks kind of, ugh. Just noticed, too, that I'm cutting my head off in this recording. That's not nice. Okay, so let's get another one in. And again, whenever you get anything above x squared, when you're doing your exponents, make sure you're hitting the right arrow to make sure that you're not ending up with the whole thing as an exponent. That's not fun. So let's see what this is going to look like. Hopefully we get a little different. Oh yeah, that's a lot different, okay? So again, for my points, second graph, let's just get everything that is it's kind of funky. You're like, okay. So it's like it comes down, it goes up, it comes down, it goes back up. Something like that. And so what I tend to notice right away with this, when I'm looking for all these values that I'm going to be trying to conjure up here, is that this time, if I take a close look, whether it's on the calculator or my graph, it looks like I've got a minimum here, then it goes up, then a minimum down here somewhere. So it looks like I got two of them. So the process is the same, second trace. No matter what, it's just which one of the numbers am I going to be using. So I want a minimum. So again, no matter what I'm looking for, the process is identical except for what I press on that last menu. Get as close as you can to it. Left, 1, 2, 3, enter. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Enter, and one last time for the guess. So let's see here. We got a min at negative 1.16. I normally just go to 2 decimal places. 1.91. Decimally, definitely okay. So you're like, can I just scroll over since I'm still doing a min for this next one? No, we still got to repeat the process. So second trace, still doing a min, still doing number 3. And we're going to get all the way down here to our minimum. Same thing, left, 1, 2, 3, enter, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, enter, and one more time. So 1.57, negative 6.49, and we got our mins. They are ready and raring to go. Just looking for another color. Let's try this out. So I get those done, and I'm like, okay, well, next is the max. So max looks like maybe up here. And that looks like about it as far as maxes go. So looks like we might have one here. So up here to the top of our little mini hill. Same thing, left, 1, 2, 3, enter, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, enter, and one more. So negative 0.41 and 2.59. And we got us a max. Last thing, we're almost there. Zeros. Finding those spots where we're crossing the x-axis. So it looks like we got 2 of those to play with. Same chart, different number, same exact way of doing it. Get as close as you can to the 0. Left, 1, 2, 3, enter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the right, enter. Boundary is set. One more enter. 0.43. If we're doing zeros, the y value should always be 0. And one last time. So second trace, number 2. Here we come. Whoa, that was a little too much. Well, now you're like, what do I do here? That's as close as I can get. That's okay. Doesn't have to be right on it. Same rules. Left, 1, 2, 3, enter. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If the cursor disappears, we don't care. It's still there. Guess is just enter. 2.22. And again, E is 0. Okay? Nothing different. So you're like, okay, I can see kind of where that's going. So we're basically here just doing review of some things that we've already done as far as that goes. So let's see here. Polynomials of least degree with integral coefficients. Okay, now here is where we've had some discussions before with, so what does this actually look like? Okay, so we're going to go with what we have been going with. I want to check one thing. Oh, good, this is the end. Okay. So for us, we kept talking about how when you go to your next step, all you're doing is changing the sign on what x is. Okay? Now, you're like 0, that's kind of weird. So here's the deal, okay? Before we had a discussion where I'd done way too much work because it had said it is in the factored form. Now it says write a polynomial of least degree. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm keeping it this way because flipping back and forth I don't think is the best way for you. We could even type this into the calculator this way. We'd be perfectly fine. So I am A-okay with you just remembering those are all opposites and kind of working through. Now, the only other reminder I'll say, and the last one we'll do here, and then I'll kind of let you play a little bit as well, because we're going to have a couple of large days here coming, because if you look at what's after this, it's the unit review, and it's chunky. I'm not even going to lie. That's why we're going to spend 2 days kind of playing our way through it, so we don't have to try and take it on all at once. So last piece here. Negative 2 multiple of 2. Okay, so what does that mean? It just means that whatever number is listed first, we're going to use it that many times. So like on number 19, negative 3 multiple of 3, it just means there's going to be 3 negative 3's that we're working with. So here, take those, and just like we did on the one above, switch the sign, switch the sign, switch the sign. And we're set. Okay? So that's all we're kind of playing with for right now. A little bit with the graph, okay? A little bit with transforming these answers, these zeros, back towards a polynomial function, and just kind of getting back into the swing. So what we'll do as we go here day by day is we are going to be, I'm going to be doing what I'm doing right now. I'm going to be doing these videos, and I'm going to be posting them later in the day. So if you're ever at home or if you miss a class, be on the lookout for these a little bit later into the afternoon when I can get them uploaded so you can still get some help in that area. But for now, we will say adieu to the video.